Deb, you just walked off stage, Silicon Soap Summit. How was it up there?
It was incredible. There's so much energy in the room, even though you can't see anybody from the stage.
You can't.
It's
Okay.
really hard. You can kind of see it's a blur, so you can kind of see the people, but you can't see any faces.
That's probably better, right? It takes some
Yes,
of the pressure
it does
off.
take
So
the
you don't have to
pressure
worry
off.
about thinking about people in their underwear, whatever the tricks are, right?
Well, one time I was doing a talk, and there was a spotlight only on one section, and so you could just see
geez.
the facial expressions of about 5 people the whole time I was speaking.
That's not distracting either.
It is
huh?
a little distracting.
So do you love being up on stage? You're so confident. You commanded that room like an absolute professional. How does it feel to be up there?
Well, I'll tell you a secret. Before I go on stage, I always feel like I'm going to pass out.
Okay, that's
And then
good.
I always tell the person that I'm walking up with, I'm going to pass out, and they freak out. And then I'm totally calm after that.
Okay. Just get that out of there before it actually happens on stage.
Yes.
So you were up there talking about so many powerful things. You are with Ancestry, obviously, and run the show over there. And I love the journey that you told us about your career and how you got there. And you really walked us through the different touch points that stood out to you, I know. I want to touch on something you started with. You met with a CEO early on in Silicon Slopes that asked you to be the CEO. Or you met with a company, asked you to be the CEO, and you said, why me? Do you want to tell us a little snippet about that story? Share it on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what happened was I got this email, out of the blue. Hey, would you like to interview the CEO of this iconic Silicon Valley company? It was on Ancestry. But I just remember thinking, okay, what on earth would somebody ask me? And we had a good laugh with my husband, and I replied, kind of trying to fish to learn more. And then I didn't hear anything for a while. I hear again, they say, hey, they want to talk to you. And so I went out to dinner with this, Jim Citron is actually this well-known Silicon Valley recruiter. And, he was doing the search, and he took me out to dinner. And halfway through, I said, why me? Like, why would you ask me? I'm nobody. And he said, why not you? Every CEO has to get their first CEO job somehow. And this is your chance. And I just remember how that turned it on its head. The question just turned my thinking on its head, because I was asking him to justify why I should do this. And he was asking me to tell me all the reasons I shouldn't. And I realized that I was asking the wrong question. And that really opened up my mind to how the way you frame a question actually changes the outcome of how you think about it.
That's got to play into your mindset going into things. I imagine there's so many people out there. All of us have experienced imposter syndrome, right? That why me, or I'm not supposed to be here. I don't deserve a seat at this table. As entrepreneurs or people are starting into the business world, what kind of advice do you have to them to overcome that imposter syndrome?
I think when we talk about imposter syndrome, so often it is kind of you're in your head and you're worried about what other people think. I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best. And what I realized was, when you're in school, there's class rank, there's grades, you kind of know how to judge yourself. In the workplace, everybody is better than you at something. And I realized if you strive to be the expert, the number one in the class, you're going to fail. And so instead, I decided if you turn that question on its head, the same as Jim did, and say, what do I bring to the table that's unique? What is special about what I can bring? And for me, I said, you know what? I'm going to have the most learning mindset. I'm going to come into every situation being willing to learn faster than other people, to listen to feedback, to evolve faster. That is going to be my special skill. And it's really hard to fail at that skill as long as you're open-minded. And so, when you walk into a situation, if you're like, I need to be the expert in order to have a conversation with this person. I need to be better than everybody else to be able to request this job or interview. Instead, say, what if I'm the best at learning? Then you can actually say, you know what? That is something I can do better than anybody else, which is I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to be inquisitive. I'm going to read the most. And in that case, you're always going to have an edge, and that edge is your willingness to actually evolve.
I love that. Find your thing and focus in on that and become a pro at that thing. Something, obviously, everyone watching you and here at this summit is just absorbing all of your knowledge about the industry. As a leader, how do you continue to be innovative and to pave new pathways for your company, for your employees?
I think the most important thing is actually first being willing to listen. The best leader is not the person who makes all the decisions. A great leader is one that ensures great decisions are made. And that's done through listening, enabling teams. I tell my teams, you spend all day thinking about this problem. I shouldn't have the answer more than you should. We should actually have a conversation, and so I can learn from you. And I think sometimes we have this fixed idea that leaders come in, have the answer, they unveil some sort of magical answer. But actually, most leadership is an iterative process. It's a team sport. And the atomic unit of success is not an individual. It's actually a team. And so often we kind of have this idea that the CEO is supposed to have the answers. But, no one succeeds alone. And one of the things that's really important is really not writing other people out of the story, but actually showing people that part of leadership is actually helping people unlock themselves and unblock themselves and to grow so that they can also be leaders in their own right.
Wow, that's so powerful. And, you're a human, right? Like you said earlier, you had to start somewhere. You had to get your first CEO job at some point. And before that, you were, working your way up as well. And I think that that's another powerful thing that I hear from a lot of leaders is just hire powerful people around you, right? Because the team environment is so important. You guys have a big presence here in the tech industry in Utah. What does it feel like to be a part of this summit and a part of this busting at the seams world here?
Well, Utah is such an incredible place. Like amazing tech workforce, really wonderful outdoor things to do. It's just so livable. And as they were saying earlier in the summit, I mean, people come and they never leave. Governor Cox had said like the reason why Utah is growing faster than every other state is that people come, fall in love, and never go. And I can see why, having spent several weeks here, I can see why people just fall in love with what is such a magical place. It is both a mix of tech and kind of the energy of entrepreneurship and growth, and yet also kind of the affordability, family orientation, outdoor activities, really feeling like you could be part of the community too.
How does it feel to hear feedback from people that have used Ancestry and done the DNA testing? I know Governor Cox mentioned that he had. How does that feel?
It's incredible to hear the stories of what it's unlocked for people. People finding families that they never knew they had, or relatives. People have sent me so many amazing notes when I announced that I was joining Ancestry. So many people from my life said, "Hey, this is how I found my second cousin, and I visited them, and I met them because of Ancestry." Or, I've been sharing my family tree. My mother shares the family tree at every event. We actually gather around and see all her new discoveries of who's new in our family that we didn't know about. And it's just that incredible story of how the product has changed people's lives, their families, their connections. That has been so amazing.
What's on the horizon for you guys?
We have so much more work to do. I mean, our product is wonderful, but there's so many more things that we can do, and we're really excited about continuing to innovate and grow and pioneer what we can build in the future for people. As I talked a little bit on stage, going from family history, which is kind of more static, to really building family stories, which is more alive. Going from a me activity to a we activity. How do we go from a solo adventure to actually, bringing communities and people and families together to do these activities? And then how do we actually make it Ancestry for all, so that the product actually, reflects real family dynamics, reflects people with different, histories, so that we can make it possible for everyone to really feel like Ancestry is for them.
So during the pandemic, when everyone was kind of on their heels staying at home, did you guys find that there were a lot more people jumping on to do their family history and search for those stories and their legacy?
Well, what's been most incredible about the pandemic is people actually got much closer to their families than ever before. In some ways, people kind of had gone off and done all these things, and they kind of returned home. And home is where your family is. It's where the connections are. People, ended up, potting with their family and spending time with their family in different ways. And they also realized how important their families were. When you can't see them for Thanksgiving and Christmas, when you can't spend time with them, you realize how much your extended family is a part of your life. And I actually think that changed the way people thought about family. And so people wanted to discover more things, to spend more time with their family, to actually build, a family legacy together. And that's what's been really incredible about the pandemic.
Shifting to that we mindset when
Yes.
we're doing these things as a family. Well, thanks for joining me today and for your wonderful presentation on stage.
Thank you so much for your time.